Hello YouTube. This is the long video that I've been promising for a while to do, and I just wanted to tell you up front, I don't know how long it's going to run. It is what it is, but and I named this the TuberTed Diet just after my handle here on YouTube, and also my Peloton bike handle is TuberTed. And that's got a pound sign in front of it. So if you're trying to find anything on me, you look for that, you can find me. Introduction to this all is I'm not a doctor, don't pretend to be a doctor, don't want to be a doctor. They have utmost respect for having what they went through and some of the financial hardships that they had to incur in order to do that. We'll get into that another day, but I put up a video on my Facebook today about Dr. Jason Fung talking about the corruption of the whole science-based stuff as far as research goes and how bogus it is. If you look a little bit, you can find it everywhere, even in the American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association, cancer.org, everywhere. It's just everything is funded by either big food or big pharma or big insurance, and big government's behind all of it. So that's my little rant. Where I came from is I grew up as a fat child, okay? And I'm going to use the word fat instead of morbidly obese throughout this thing, just because it's easier to say. And my whole life just about has been being fat. Now, if you're offended by the term fat, then you're being offended by the wrong thing, because I'm the one that's here. I'm trying to help. So I did have some instances over the years that I actually can say that I lost weight, but most of the time it was either through starvation or through other means of doing it that was just insanity, just about. And I'd had some success, and some of the things that I ate probably were okay, but most of the time it's just, as I turned out, I had a propensity or an inclination to being a type 2 diabetic. I'm pretty sure that there is something out there that's passed on, but I'm not sure exactly how. Because if you can control your diabetes, then it's not like you're doomed. And I thought for many years I was just doomed, that I was going to be doomed to be a fat diabetic and eventually just rot off my feet or go blind. And I have encouraging words for you that no, you don't have to be that way. Where I was on May 25th of this year, I weighed myself at 235, and I had to say it was just terrible. And then on June 1st, I went to the doctor, and the doctor was absolutely insistent that I went on insulin right then and there. And I said, no, tell you what, give me one more shot and I'm going to do something about it. So that was one of my, what you would call a tipping point. My A1C was 8.4, and my cholesterols, even though they weren't bad, he still wanted to keep me on a statin. So that's kind of where I was. And I had all the typical symptoms of having bad diabetes. I had terrible edema in my legs, and I had a couple of eye circumstances. I think that I actually was, if I'd stayed on the track I was on, I think I'd be starting to go blind. And that's pretty scary, having been somebody that's been pretty independent most of my life. So where am I now? As of today, I weigh 185 pounds. The last time I went to the doctor, which was on September 1st, my A1C was 5.7, which is normal. I mean, that's not even pre-diabetic anymore. That's normal. And all of my lipid panel results improved, some of them drastically. The total cholesterol went from 153 to 124. The good cholesterol actually, went down. The good cholesterol went down, the bad cholesterol went down, my triglycerides went down 40%. All the ratios went down, and the doctor wrote on the lab results, perfect. Perfect, okay? So what I'm getting ready to talk to you about is the diet that I use. And some people would say, well, isn't your cholesterol going to go up and all your other cholesterols, get really bad and you're going to die of the thickening of the glucose on the side of, not the glucose, but the fat on the inside of your wall going to your heart? No, that's horse shit, okay? So, and I'm quoting Dr. Berry, and we'll get more into these guys later. But, he pretty well says what he thinks most of the time. So my A1C, like I was saying, went down a great deal. As a matter of fact, my serum glucose is below normal, which is everybody seems to like that, as is my calculated globulin and my AG ratio are all low. And some people might say that you would be hypoglycemic, but no, you're not. You're healthy and you're recovering, okay? So as far as my labs go, that's pretty much where we are. But as far as the edema in my leg is gone, I actually, you can see the musculature instead of just blowed up, swole up legs. And I can tell you, when I was coming back from the Philippines this last time, it was pretty scary. I mean, I got there and it was just, my legs were blown up like balloons when I got there, and then I knew they were going to be bad when I got back, because it was impossible for me to eat right since we were going to see Tita's mom. She passed away. That was another tipping point. When I went to see Mama Linda there and saw her in the casket, and I don't know what made me think about it, but I looked around me and looked at all the, my wife and her family and all of them there. I said, well, who's going to be the next one? And everything pointed to me. I said, well, I can't deal with that. I just, I got to do something about it. And I'm not ready to make my wife a widow. So, I had to do something about it. So that's kind of where I am now. I hope if you've seen some of my earlier videos, you can see that my face has got a little bit thinner. And, I've got a little bit of saggy skin there, but I think some of that will go away. Some of that's due to the fact that when I had my cancer surgery back in 2014, it just kind of stayed around. I may just have turkey neck or gobbler neck, as some people say, and trying to avoid that. I don't know if I can do it or not. But what I did, and we're finally to that point where I know you want to know what I did in order to do this so far, is I've been pretty much on an intermittent fasting from usually dinner time. Usually for us is about 5:30, 6 o'clock every night. And then I don't eat breakfast anymore. And I eat usually about 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'll usually have a nutritious meal shake, protein shake, whatever you can call it. I've been using Kachava for a while, and it seems to work well for me. It gives me a full feeling, and it's got all the things that are supposed to be good with you. And it does have some bad things in it, and we'll get more into that in a minute. But dinner time, I've been going pretty well low carb and keto, whatever you want to call it. I haven't been full-blown carnivore. Now, as far as we'll have something along with the meat, and it's usually going to be something pretty green. Like last night, we had a broiled trout, and I ate the skin, and then that was really good. Tina does a good job with that. And then we had some spinach, and then she made some roasted bell peppers, and that's pretty much all the vegetable I had. And the spinach, you know, if you're going to eat vegetables and try to avoid carbs in your vegetables, then I'm not sure whether that's 100% best way to go. But if you're really morbidly obese, you might want to consider it. The other thing that I want to tell you is the meats that I eat virtually everything. Beef, chicken, fish, seafood. I love mussels. I love mussels and scallops and all of that. And pork and lamb. And usually we went to Hickory Tavern last weekend, and I had a ribeye, and Tina probably would have sent it back because it was so fat on it. I loved it. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. I want to go get another one. But I'll tell you another thing that I really like, and it gives me some feeling of satiation, and that's to eat the chicken skin or the fish off of that trout. The skin off that trout is really good. Now, if you're going to eat some vegetables, virtually everybody says, you know, if you're really going to go to the low-end carb type of stuff, then, you know, you need to go with the leafy green vegetables, better known as cruciferous. That's cruciferous. Now, if you want to use that in the crossword puzzle, you can. But that's what everybody's saying you can do, and it's probably got a counteracting effect, the carbs, and then the additional minerals and vegetables and all the type of vitamins in it. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that some of the things that I do that the people doing all this keto stuff, you know, would say, oh, you're crazy. I said, well, I'm kind of reducing my salt too. I kind of grew up on a low salt diet because when Daddy had his first heart attack in '73, then they just about threw away the salt shaker, started using no salt. And I like no salt for the flavor, and it does give me some additional benefits there. Now, the last kind of thing I wanted to go over here, I want to talk to you about some of the people that I get my information from. Dr. Jason Fung is one of these guys that, you know, he's the brightest guy in the room. I mean, you know, I don't care who's there. He's going to be the smart one. And he wrote 3 books. This is the 3rd book. I read on Kindle in the introduction section his first 2 books, which were the Obesity Code and the Diabetes Code. And this one, since I'm still trying to learn as much as I possibly can about cancer, then this is the one that I wanted to talk to you about. It's got some pretty interesting things in here, and as far as what cancer is, how they started treating it, and how they're attempting to do it, and then what he thinks is going to work. I think one day he's going to get some recognition, and I hope he gets a Nobel Prize, just because, you know, he has opened up some things here that nobody else really has talked about. Another one that's very influential in some of the things that I'm reading is a man by the name of Dr. Eric Westman. And Dr. Westman has a place right down the street from us there in Raleigh, Durham, and it's his obesity clinic. And he's getting some recognition on the internet now for his Adapt Your Life stuff, and he's got some really good videos there. And this book, in addition to his End Your Carb Confusion, which I've got on Kindle and read it, and that breaks it down about as easily as I could. I wish I'd got I may buy the hardback just to have it. and use it as a reference type thing. Now, if you want somebody that's just like your a relative that's always just going to tell you exactly the way it is and let you learn from him, it's this guy. It's Dr. Ken Berry. Dr. Ken Berry has a YouTube channel also, and his stuff is just, in addition to being hilarious, and he has just homespun type humor, southern good old boy type stuff, and his story. You got to go through 100 of these videos sometimes just to find the things that you're initially interested in, and then say, yeah, well, maybe I'll go back and learn a little bit more. This book, Lies My Doctor Told Me, it's brilliant. I mean, it just goes through every little thing that you've heard your whole life, going to the doctor and all of this stuff, and 98% of that stuff is based on some of the worst premises in medical jargon and history, and it's just completely unbelievable. And all of it's science-based, and he's got all kinds of backup on his web page about, why trust in God, not your doctor. Though the doctors treated him, let his blood, bloodletting going back a ways, and gave him medications to drink, he nevertheless recovered. And that's from War and Peace. The whole book is like that. This is probably the best book that you could ever get on questioning everything that your doctor told you. This is one that Dr. Westman co-authored with Jimmy Moore. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Jimmy, but I think he's had some bad press. But the book in itself seems to be written in the same kind of jargon and way that Dr. Berry writes, and it's very interesting. So, now, another thing, Kindle, you can do previews on all these books and hundreds of other books. If you don't have a Kindle reader, you can get the app for your phone, and you can read so much. And then if it's something that you want to invest your hard-earned money in, whether you have diabetes or you have cancer or you have just general type stuff, high cholesterol, I've started reading that, and I kind of put it down because I wanted to read something else. I'm going to pick it up again. But it's just, you can read so much on Kindle that, you can get the whole idea, whether that's something you're interested in or not. I encourage you to do that. So the final thing I want to go over real quick is where I'm going. In addition to all of the diet type stuff that I've done, I've gotten a Peloton bike. I got it in June and really wasn't able to ride it a whole lot in June. When we got back from the Philippines, we were gone 3 weeks in June. I was able to restart. But I'm showing significant improvement on my strength, in addition to the power that I generate on it. And then with my weight going down too, it creates a ratio that makes it look like that I'm generating more power with less weight. So that's a really good thing to be able to do. And between my first test, it's called an FTP test, I won't get into that, but my last one, this is my third one I had yesterday, in a period of a little over 2 months, my ratio power to strength and weight has gone up 40%. And I know that I'm going to have some initial gains, but still, everybody I told that about on the Peloton community I'm in, they're just saying that's incredible. So not too shabby for a 64-year-old retired guy. So I'll end it with that now. We're up to almost 20 minutes, and I didn't want to do a whole lot of little videos on this and then put them up. And I don't know how many people are actually going to look at this one, but I can tell you this pretty much sums up everything that I've been going through here the last 135 days. And I look forward to a whole lot better results continuing. And I hope you can join me. Any questions you have, just put it in the comments. Thank you and have a lovely day.